Welcome to the IVM Podcast Network.
Hello, you nerds. It's Tejas and Dinkar from the Geek Podcast, which you're about to hear in a bit. But before that, an advertisement.
Hello. The Moja Club makes awesome funky socks that you can buy individually or even better, in a pair. It's crazy, I know. You could get a subscription and sign up for 6 months or a year and get a pair delivered to your house every single month. And they will even throw in one pair for free.
And exclusively for you Geek Fruit nerds, get a full 33% discount. Just go to their website, themojaclub.in, and use the code GeekFruit, that's without spaces, during the checkout.
Geek Fruit is an IVM production, and if you happen to like our show, then you're probably going to like the Poudcast, a Bombay-based food and culture podcast hosted by the Daily Pow. So if you want to check out cool stuff in Bombay, you know where to listen.
You're listening to the Geek Fruit Podcast.
Hey Dinkar.
Hey Tejas.
So, do you know that Brad Pitt was in India recently?
Yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah, but you know who should have actually come here?
Who?
Tom Cruise.
Why?
Because he could have launched his new film at Mummy. the film festival. That's
Yeah.
not bad. That's a good joke.
It's a not bad joke. Like, I was along with you for the ride. That's pretty much how I felt about Tom Cruise's new movie, The Mummy.
Right, so we're going to be talking about that. We're also going to be talking about the differentiation between audience scores and critic scores on Rotten Tomatoes because it's become a point of
It's
contention
been
of
on
late.
our mind of late.
Yes, this is
Yeah.
true. And we've been actually, deciding whether we should watch movies based on that score alone. I mean, like, I know, as in, like...
We watch movies anyway.
Regardless, yes,
Yeah.
but like based on where we're going to watch it, whether we're going to watch it on IMAX or not. So yeah, we're going to be talking about all
It
those
tempers
things.
our expectations for these movies.
This is true.
When we walk in going like, why did critics say 15%?
Yeah.
Maybe that's part of the twist where you're like, how can this movie be this bad? Then you go into it.
You
and
get
then
suckered into it, man.
You get suckered
like
into
The
it.
Circle, the Tom Hanks film,
One of
which
these
is
days,
15%.
I need to understand from you why you hate that
Oh
movie
my
so
gosh.
much.
It was... I can't.
Maybe I need to watch it.
Yeah, you should. Okay, cool. We're going to come back and talk about The Mummy.
Long, long ago, not in Bethlehem, but in a place nearby, there was a wonderful birth of a huge show, which I like to call Cyrus Says. A show that encapsulates everything in human history, from the first Homo sapien to the last Homo sapien, who's traversed the entire world and then come back to India. This is a show which tells you everything about everything. If you want to know, avoid Google, come to us. It's called Cyrus Says. Get new episodes every Monday on the IVM Podcast app or wherever you get your podcasts on. You get one banana water free with every podcast. Right. I'll just check that.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Geek Fruit Podcast. My name is Tejas. I'm here with Dinkar.
What's up?
How's it going, man?
It's going well, man.
We
How
have
about
it's all right,
Okay,
considering we
cool.
watched a substandard film.
Good
which,
talk.
which I think we can say right from the outset.
you? It was a pretty substandard film.
Yeah.
Or an average film? I
It was
don't
average.
know.
Okay, so
Yeah.
substandard is average. Isn't that a synonym?
No,
If it's
substandard. The standard should be the average.
standard. No, if
Yeah.
you put a the in front of it, it's
Well,
like
what
the
is the
standard.
substandard sub of the standard, no?
Yeah, but I thought standard is like regular, which is code for average. Does that not make sense? I don't know. Maybe
And this is-
I go by a different rule book. You know what? We should talk about definitely in context to the episode, which we're talking about The Mummy, and we're talking about how it's fared with critics, and we're talking about how it's going to fare with audiences and people who are in between squarely like us. Maybe we should talk about Rotten Tomatoes and how that is affecting like Hollywood right now. I read a
Yeah.
really great article yesterday about how I think the movie Get Out, which was Jordan Peele's, right? So his film was, I think, one of the first, not first few, but it was like one of the, I guess it was one of the first few movie posters. Instead of putting some of the testimonials, like say from the Variety, Entertainment Weekly, they put the Rotten Tomatoes score on it.
Was it like 100% or something like
Yeah,
that?
because it was 100%, and so
Right.
they put it on the on the poster, and it's interesting because of late. I mean, I think both of us have been doing this, right? We've been saying whether to watch a film in the IMAX in Lower Parel or watch it, in a regular cinema,
Yeah.
which is like just 3D or Dolby Atmos.
Is
whichever
this
it is.
movie worth IMAX, basically?
It's true,
Yeah.
and we've had a few different kind of thoughts about it. What
Yeah.
were they?
So what I've noticed of late is the differential between the critic score and audience score on Rotten Tomatoes
Right.
has shot up like crazy. So
Yeah.
whereas before you'd have like critics might review a movie slightly better, or audiences might review a movie slightly better.
Yeah.
That'd be like maybe a 5-10% difference, and you go
course.
like, oh, okay, critics enjoy this movie, but audiences really liked it.
Yeah.
But of late, especially for the kind of stuff we watch, like
Yeah.
nerdy superhero stuff, there is a massive difference.
Yeah.
Probably like the most pronounced one was Iron Fist,
Yeah.
where it was at like 14% or something with critics, and
Yeah.
audiences had it up at 80.
Yeah.
We've seen it with The Mummy. We saw it with Wonder Woman to some extent.
So I was trying to test out this very theory last night, and so my flatmate and I were just going through like a bunch of random films, right? And so we checked, and in most cases we found that the critic score is inevitably lower than the audience score,
Which
right?
is understandable.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
However, we did find a few films, one of them being Prometheus, actually, where the critic score was high and the audience score was lower. Which is interesting.
Yeah.
Because, for example, I just heard NPR's Pop Culture Happy Hour, and I was just listening to the Alien Covenant episode, right? And in that, even in that, I can't remember who's the host, that lovely woman. I can't remember. She writes for Monkey See, right?
Yeah.
And so she was saying that I really liked Prometheus. I thought Prometheus was good, and I thought that, it was people were being too harsh on it. And I think it's one of those things where for the first time they tried to get cerebral and the audience just wanted to see a slasher flick. Like that's basically what Covenant was. It was a response to that. So we do find these outliers, or maybe not even outliers. We still need to do a better sample size, I suppose.
Yeah.
But we find this big differentiation between these two scores. And I think a good thumb rule to kind of go by is to just average them out.
the two out. I
Yeah.
think we need to come up with like a
good
fruit
formula?
principle. Yeah.
Sigma equal to.
There is a sigma for sure.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I really, so why these scores are becoming more and more like poles apart, really.
Yeah. Do you think people are
is
just rebelling? Like just say, you
probably
critics?
to some extent, because there is a lot more outrage against what a critic's opinion is now than there was before. Probably because, because of the internet and
Yeah.
because of Rotten Tomatoes scores being such a big factor now.
Yeah.
People feel the urge to correct critics. So earlier a critic would say something and you'd read it in the paper and go like, oh, okay, cool. And you probably wouldn't even see the movie. But
Right.
now, when it's especially when it's established properties like the DC universe stuff,
That's
for
something,
example.
that definitely I do want to talk about in this context also. So just to be sure, what we see on the headline of the page on Rotten Tomatoes, when you log on and you see all the scores on the left-hand side, the tomato meter is the critic's tomato meter then.
Yes.
It is not an average of the two scores.
And an important point that kind of gets glossed over is when you see the tomato meter score,
Yeah.
you tend to take it as the rating of the movie itself. It is not.
It's not at all.
It's the percentage of critics who liked it.
Yes.
So
it's
if
the
10
percentage of
critics saw it and 7 of those critics gave it favorable reviews.
Correct.
So they might not necessarily say like this movie was 70% great. They might just say like this movie is above average.
Yes.
But that counts as a favorable review and the score becomes 70%.
That is a very good point.
Yeah.
Also, I think it came to a fore even more this year. I don't know if you remember this when Batman vs Superman, released, and there was
I
such
do remember that.
Yeah, there was such
It was a
flack. No, particularly when we found the cast kind of defending the movies in the press junkets, and that's where the whole "Hello Darkness, my old friend," the meme happened with Sad Fleck, and even when Ben Affleck went on a bunch of talk shows, he was like specifically, this is a fans movie. He tried to make that a real thing. I didn't know it existed before that. A bad movie is a bad movie in my book, but clearly there is a differentiation.
But it's always been a thing, right? Especially Hollywood is basically catching up with Bollywood on this front, because we've been saying for years like, I make the movies for the fans.
Exactly,
and
for the masses.
So,
So to speak.
Affleck took a leaf out of Salman Khan's book there.
But that's so weird, again, I think there needs to be a third meter, and this is where we should close this topic.
Yeah.
But an ironical rating. I think a lot of people and I'd say this is a good segue into The Mummy. I really enjoyed The Mummy. Even though it's an below those standard film, but I like it ironically in a weird way, just like how we enjoy Batman Forever or Batman Robin. Okay. Batman Forever still, there's still some really good parts, but you know what it is. It's a hammy film. It's a campy film, and Batman and Robin even more so. But when we talk about these films, what is the way to rate these films?
Okay, I know you enjoyed it, as did I. But if you were a professional movie critic, would you feel comfortable saying like this is a great movie? Like you temper your review, right? You'd say this is a fun movie if you're up for like a leave your brains at home
Sure,
kind of.
but
like,
I would
fun ride.
indicate that. You know,
Yes, that counts as a favorable review, and
here's
you've
the-
contributed 1% to the Rotten Tomatoes score
I'm
of this
happy
movie.
to do so. First of all, I see these movies as something where if you can entertain me to the point where I am already prepared and I know that this is going to be a type of film which I feel a lot of filmmakers are doing. Like, for example, John Wick, right? John Wick is not a movie that you're going to see because you want to see really intense drama. What are you going to watch these movies for?
Yeah.
What is your expectation of the genre itself? And when you say, I want to watch Keanu Reeves finally come back to what
Kicking
he was
some ass.
destined to do as the one.
Yeah.
And that's kicking some ass and, taking names and shooting bullets and stuff. Then I
Yeah.
want to watch John Wick. And if it does that job, which I have asked it to do, the movie's 100% for me. Do you know what I mean?
I get it, but that's how critics approach movies as well, right? I mean, they're not watching Batman vs Superman and going like, it's good, but on a scale of 0 to Citizen Kane.
Exactly.
They're not doing that. They're approaching it with the
isn't
same caveats as you.
But that's what Rotten Tomatoes is, why we're having this divide between the audience score and that rating is because of something like this. Because I think critics are, if you just take the superhero genre just generally, we've had like 20 years of it now. And now when we've reached a point where it's, of saturation and things like that, and we see Guardians of the Galaxy, and we see Wonder Woman, and we see them retelling the same stories we've been seeing for so long, and then Logan appears, then a critic will be like, yes, this has elevated the genre, or this has shown me something that I have not seen before in the cinema, or, and things like that.
Yeah.
And so that deserves, a critic's rating would be like, then favorable in that sense.
Yes.
But when it comes to like movies like, because they're looking for it to be that way. But you could equally go into Wonder Woman and Guardians of the Galaxy and just have a good time, knowing that it's going to be a staple superhero flick that people are just, escaping their lives from. Just go and watch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, this is a tough one.
It's
I
an
mean,
interesting
But then
point,
you see a Wonder Woman getting great reviews.
Yeah.
Which, again, a lot of us are attributing to the fact that it's like the first female superhero movie and
Sure.
whatnot.
Yeah. I guess, circumstance, context, all these things are pretty relevant.
Probably, I mean, context matters a lot.
Yeah.
I still don't think it's purely because of the woman thing. For example,
no, definitely.
like Ghostbusters was a disaster on the Rotten Tomatoes audience score.
So I have not seen that film. How was it?
It's pretty okay. It's nothing great. It's no original Ghostbusters, but it's not a bad movie. It's a very typical... you've seen Melissa McCarthy movies.
Of course,
It's like another one of those.
Oh, but I love those.
Yeah, they're great.
I love Spy.
Spy is solid.
It is hilarious because of Jason Statham also.
Yeah, so this is pretty much that vibe, except, just because the audiences had an agenda, and by the audiences, there was this, like, one specific group of, like, men's right activists types who were like, we're gonna get this movie, like, kicked out. So, it's the most disliked trailer in YouTube history.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, and it has a terrible audience score on Rotten Tomatoes, and the critics are pretty much like, this is a good movie.
Oh, that's interesting.
So-
it is context. So I guess context is it's all about context. That having said that, at least, let us now move on to The Mummy. We were going to do a couple of
We've
things.
been talking about the mummy all this time.
Yeah. Well, let's actually talk about the story.
Yeah.
Very briefly, I mean, if you haven't seen The Mummy, or if you did manage to catch it in the theaters, you instantly know that this is not some highbrow flick. It's like we've been speaking of for the last few minutes, but it's a very simple kind of leave your brains at home action kind of franchise. But more importantly, it's the beginning of a new world building franchise, which is why I feel like we should talk about it.
Yeah.
In specificity. Dinkar, what did you think of The Mummy's story? And why don't you...
The story
Give us a
insofar
synopsis.
as it exists? Okay.
Yes.
So, the story...
Oh, wait, actually, go one further and go before the movie and give us the context, perhaps.
The context for the movie?
Yes.
Well, this is the first installment of the Universal Dark Universe, which will involve all sorts of classic monsters that Universal has made movies of before.
In the public domain monsters.
They're basically public domain monsters. So you've got Frankenstein, the Bride of Frankenstein.
For real?
Yeah, Frankenstein's monster? Yeah, Bride of Frankenstein was a 1930s
Oh, no, as in
pulpy horror movie.
that is also within this gamut.
It is, as far as I know. I don't think Universal really has plans.
Oh, okay,
either.
yeah.
They basically just looked around and went like, wait,
Wow,
what's this?
they basically looked around and said, like, damn it, we spent the last 30 years building zero IPs. And
Okay,
nothing
there was a
that we
board
own.
meeting where they were like, everyone has universes and we're universal. How have we not done this, guys? Let's start the Monsters universe.
What do we got? Monsters? Sure.
What do we call it? Monster universe? No. Dark universe? Done. Start it.
Monsters University? No, that's taken.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And that's where this movie comes from. So they tried to kickstart this universe with Dracula Untold a couple of years ago.
And they left it.
Then they
It remained untold.
The universe remained untold. So this is like the first earnest effort. And the Universal's vanity card, which is that the globe spinning,
This is
now
true.
turns around.
Is that what it's called? A vanity card?
Isn't it?
I just thought it's called credit titles. Yeah, the opening titles, whatever you call it. Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
I mean,
Vanity card is good.
whatever
Sorry,
it
I
is.
didn't know that.
I
All right.
feel like it's called a vanity card.
That's cool because it
It's
makes
pretty
sense because
vain.
like there's also vanity handles now on the internet. That's interesting. Okay, cool.
They're
go
so
on.
vain, they think that title card is about them. So yeah, the Universal logo spins around to reveal the dark universe.
I gotta say, I enjoyed that.
Yeah, that was pretty cool because it feels like you're at the beginning of something big.
New, yeah.
And then you watch the movie.
The start of something new.
Yeah.
Very much like what Troy and Gabriella said in High School Musical.
Oh, right. That's a song
yes.
in High School Musical.
Don't
I
ask me
know
how
that song.
Yeah, I know you know it.
Yeah.
I had a nephew. I mean, I still have him. As
Did
a
you have
nephew.
Okay.
And he.
I thought you said I had an FU.
Well, sure. For a few of these movies that we talk about, but coming back to the Dark Universe, it is exciting. It is exciting to see those
Is
logo
it
titles.
though? What did you think of the idea of like let's put together Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde
Now,
and
Dinkar, you
the
know I am a
Frankensteins of the
huge
fam.
fan of Tom Cruise. Okay.
So am I think it's humanly impossible not to be.
Well, you'll be surprised. Clearly,
See,
there are people
okay.
within this office.
There are
Alika, who designs
there are two
our-
types of people.
Yeah.
There are people who say they can't resist Tom Cruise
Yeah.
and are thus fans, such as you
Yes.
and myself. And there are people who are lying.
Nice.
Like, you can't not be a fan of Tom Cruise. Are you not a fan of Gravity?
This is true. I mean,
Okay.
maybe you're not a fan of Gravity because it's
but-
always bringing you down.
Okay, let me put it this way. You cannot be a fan of Gravity, but you can't deny it affects you.
This is true.
You could
that's
be-
a
Yeah.
fitting way to describe the Tom Cruise effect.
Yeah.
Because Tom Cruise is somebody who's lived through classic Hollywood. I want to say the 80s and the 90s Hollywood, the heyday of like WTF kind of movies.
Mm-hmm.
And he's also lived through this new age and he's doing well here as well. And surprisingly, he has managed to look exactly the same.
Yes.
From the time he started movie making.
So, yeah, that reminds me of, we were talking about how old Russell Crowe was.
Yes.
And I said, is he older than Tom Cruise?
Russell Crowe is also in this movie, yes.
Yeah, because, and he, at this point, looks like,
he looks like
he's
70.
withered. He looks 70.
He was playing the aged professor.
Yeah, the mentor to Tom Cruise's like young, brash adventurer.
Yeah, exactly.
And it turns out Tom Cruise is a year older than Russell Crowe.
There you go. And then, people are sharing videos on my Facebook timeline about how there's, a weird age difference between women who were cast in Bollywood and the leading men. Some people, like Amitabh Bachchan, would play like this role and his mother would be played by somebody who's younger than him or maybe like 3 years older than him. And that's weird. It's wrong. But this is equally weird, right?
This is weird, but I will say though, in Bollywood,
Yeah.
a lot of the time you can tell.
Yeah, you can tell.
And
This is
Amitabh
true.
Bachchan who's like 35 playing a 22-year-old, you're like, I can see
Amir
that.
Khan playing a 3-year-old when he's actually 60 is like, is that what's happening?
He pulled it off in
Three Idiots.
In 3 Idiots, yeah.
He does
He genuinely look like
young.
a college kid.
That is weird again.
Is Amir Khan the Tom Cruise of India?
Yeah, you could say that. They're both the same height.
Are they both Scientologists? Ooh, burn.
Yeah, maybe they are both, very similar in, if we had to liken one character like that, they could be. They could be. I mean, maybe not.
Anyway,
Moving on.
Tom Cruise has an effect on the entire Earth.
But not on this movie. Because this
He
movie
couldn't
goes...
save it.
Yeah, he could not save this movie. Now, this movie is bad. Let's start out with that and even
That's
say...
the disclaimer.
Yeah, and even say that the plot of this entire story is not engaging in any way. Like, it's not... it's exciting in moments. I want to say they have a few good action sequences. But the plot, the storyline of the entire film is not very intriguing. Like,
Not
at no
at all.
point was I like, oh my God, what's going to happen next?
Let me run you through the plot.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
as
yeah.
a challenge, I will try and do it in the simplest way possible because this is the simplest movie possible.
Yeah.
Tom Cruise and his friend
Nick from
New
Girl.
So Tom Cruise is also Nick in this movie,
Yeah.
which makes it confusing. But Tom Cruise, Nick, and his friend Nick from New Girl
Right.
are soldiers in Iraq.
Yeah, so they're just American soldiers. What
They're
does Tom Cruise do? It was
They're
not
American
clear.
soldiers in Iraq, but what they do is they get into all these historical sites
And they
then
steal stuff and
they
they sell
steal
them on
stuff
the
and
black
they sell
market.
them on the black market.
Okay.
By which he means eBay. I'm
Right.
pretty sure.
Yeah.
So that's what Tom Cruise does.
Yeah.
He stumbles on an ancient tomb of sorts.
Yeah.
Of this mummy called, what's her name?
Amunet.
Amenet. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Right.
he stumbles on the tomb of Amenet, who was this. She was a princess.
And she was in it.
She was.
Sorry.
So Amenet was a princess back in the day who murdered her parents and her boyfriend and like everyone she could see.
Yeah, so she murders her boyfriend to start a spell which would allow the god of death to finally become physically present or
Yes.
something like that. Or basically imbue her then boyfriend.
Yeah.
Which was bad planning, by the way.
It's
How
like
do you
a-
know? How do you know? It's like, do you get engaged on the first day or something like that? That's crazy. How do you know this
To
guy's
death?
worth it? Yeah.
Oh, she worked out a deal, right? Death was basically like kill him with this dagger and this prophecy will be fulfilled and I will become...
No, my point was on the fact that she chose this dude.
That she chose death?
No, she chose the guy who was literally lying there
Yeah.
on the slab. And did she just find him? Like, that's quick. Did she just
Oh,
swipe
to be
right
her
on?
boyfriend who she...
on
yeah.
Tinder?
I mean, it doesn't matter, right? She chose him because he was a solid physical specimen.
Sure enough.
Yeah.
Okay, yes.
And then so death can enter his body and
Yeah.
be like fit AF.
Yeah, fit AF. All right. So she does this, and then what happens after that?
She is caught just before she kills the dude and she is entombed. And just to make these two storylines tie into each other,
Yes.
the ancient Egyptians apparently decided to bury her in Iraq.
Yes.
And cut to like many years later.
Yeah.
Oh, the US Army's in Iraq. Hence,
Yeah.
Nick and Nick are in Iraq. They stumble on this tomb. They meet this British lady.
Completely uncharming
Yeah.
British lady.
I couldn't even bother to look up who she was.
Yeah, I didn't. You know, usually I'm like aware of who the actress is. If they've done a really good job. I mean, honestly, the Amunet was far better in this movie as a female lead than the actual female lead.
Yeah.
Because there is zero chemistry between these two actors. Like there's, you know, a lot of the movies builds up to a point where she, you know, tries to convince Tom Cruise that he's a good man and that she likes him actually. But I was like, where did you do any of this exposition? Where did I feel the feels, dog?
Yeah.
I did not.
Also, where was it established that Tom Cruise was this like dark anti-hero types? Because
Yeah.
they kind of mentioned casually like, oh, he smuggles like historical artifacts. But from the start, he doesn't seem like this conflicted like, oh, I'm a bad man who deep inside is good. He just looks like a regular
He
dude.
looks like, you know, in fact, it feels like they were writing this character for a much younger person, like Chris Pratt or something.
Yeah.
Because the whole thing is that this guy seems to have a lack of identity, like that he is known to, right? He doesn't know what kind of person he is. I was like, dude, you're 50, man. You gotta know by then.
I think in the movies
Oh, he's
logic,
30?
he must be 30.
Okay, fine. Even if you're 30, dude, that's time to find, like, this dude, get your shit together, man.
But
Like, he had
didn't-
no clarity as to what kind of person he wanted to be. Does he want to be a hero? Does he want to just be this kind of looter, like a smuggler, kind of like a Han Solo type character? It was not at all.
He didn't seem anything.
And yeah, he was just
Yeah.
your everyman, which is very surprising because I don't see Tom Cruise play an everyman every
He
now and
isn't.
then. Because in the Mission Impossible series, he's the one who takes charge. In this movie, he didn't seem like he was trying to take charge. He's trying to. Sometimes he is, sometimes he's not. He's unsure of himself, sometimes he's not. And then we have the entire. Okay, I mean, let's not even get into the zombie Nick.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, that was-
happens.
what
So
was-
basically, wait. So what happens is Tom Cruise and your Brit lady find the tomb, and Amunet is resurrected.
Yeah.
And she's out to now kill Tom Cruise because they're in love.
No, she basically anoints him as the chosen one
Yeah.
of this era. And
She's gonna
I
kill
think because
him.
he rescues her technically by
Yeah.
releasing her from the
He
tomb.
brings
and
the
things like
curse upon himself.
Fair enough. And because of that, he becomes somewhat immortal. Like he's imbued with these powers that he cannot die.
Already?
Yeah, because he survives that plane crash.
Oh yeah, no. That's just her resurrecting him, so she can kill him proper. She's got
no,
the powers.
but he had no scratches on him. He has no marks, things like that.
I thought that was because she gave him life back. No,
I honestly don't
that explains
don't care.
how intense this movie is.
Yeah, so what happens? So basically, they try and take the tomb out of Iraq, and they go onto a plane. And this is one of the big, cutscenes. I mean, the set pieces in the film where the plane crashes because the tomb itself is emanating some kind of mystical force. Lots of crows come,
Yeah.
and the plane crashes, but Tom Cruise is still alive.
Yes.
And that's where things start to get freaky.
They get pretty freaky.
Yeah, and on that note, let's take a break and come back and talk about the rest of the Mummy.
That was Tantrik Steve from Hansraj College, Delhi, performing at IIT Bombay's Mood Indigo. Just like them, there's a lot of new talent and art coming out of colleges all across India, but unfortunately most of this goes completely unnoticed or ignored. To fix this, we started atkt.in. Hi, I'm Ankur, I'm a musician and a rapper, and I found that one of the best things about being an artist myself is finding new talent. Through atkt.in, Tanya, my colleague who's a dancer, and our whole team really is putting all of our efforts into discovering and promoting all the coolest talent that's coming out of colleges all across India. And this goes up on our website, our social media, TV, radio, and now, of course, this podcast with IVM. Make sure you go to our website, support the talent with your likes, your shares, your comments. All of that really matters. Go ahead, check it out. atkt.in.
And we're back. We're talking about the Mummy. So
we were at the plane crashing and Tom Cruise surviving, which is an excuse to have a naked Tom Cruise in the next scene.
all right, he's naked.
Yeah.
And did they censor some stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, on him? No, they do it on her, like earlier in the film, like in the Egyptian exposition.
Yeah, he was censored by careful placement of tables and whatnot.
Which is something that I saw recently in Wonder Woman as well. When Chris Pine... by the way, can I just put in a really cool fact that I just heard about?
Yeah.
About why Chris Pine is not dead?
Why?
Because he was in that water, and that water apparently is like supposed to have the same... I mean, this is a theory, that it was the same properties of the Lazarus pit, but... Yeah, but because it's like...
Wait, what water was he in?
Remember, he's in the pool right after he comes... he lands at Themyscira.
Yeah, he's having a bathe.
Yeah, he's having a bathe.
You having a bathe?
Exactly. Yeah. And so, so apparently he might not be dead because of those magical properties.
Really?
Interesting theory.
That would mean no one who's ever been on Themyscira can ever die, because they must have taken a dip in that pool at some point.
What is dead may never die.
How did Robin Wright die then? She must have, why didn't they just throw her in the pool?
Guys, spoilers.
Oops.
Yeah.
Hey, you should have seen Wonder Woman by now.
Yeah, you should have. How did she? Because she didn't do that.
The pool was
that's my theory. That's my theory. It was an interesting thing. Maybe because she's Amazonian, it doesn't work on her. It works only on humans.
Robin Wright... Maybe. But Robin Wright will be back in Justice League. I'm not sure how. But
how do you know this?
Because she said it.
What?
In interviews and
whatnot.
Or
maybe it's
both her and... what's her name? What's Mommy's name?
Hippolyta.
Yeah, who's
Connie
the lady?
Nielsen.
Connie Nielsen, yes. They've both said
of the
that
Nielsen
they will
ratings.
Yes.
No,
is she actually?
No, she's not. I just said that's the only other Nielsen I know. Anyway, but...
she'll be... both of them will be back.
But what, in the flashback kind of sense?
No, they haven't said that.
Because we've still not seen a lot of years of Wonder Woman. Okay, cool. We're talking about Wonder Woman again. Let's talk about the Mummy.
So, they will both be back, and we don't know how. It might be flashback. It must be flashback unless your...
I would like for them to come back.
Bathing pit is a Lazarus pit of some sort.
Yeah, it would be nice.
Which is not a thing.
Yeah. And Lazarus pit sounds so much better than bathing pit.
But that's a thing we've heard of before and we know it exists, right?
We do know it exists.
Maybe Tom Cruise gives them life.
So, speaking of Tom Cruise... so now he is possessed by this whatever thing, and also in a weird, completely atonal thing to this film, Nick from New Girl, what's his name? Jake Johnson?
Jake Johnson.
So he plays another character. He plays his best friend or friend.
Yeah.
I don't want to, make them best friends, but
don't give it a label.
But they're friends, and he kind of becomes his guide or something like that. And he's come back as an undead zombie because earlier in the film, spoilers, he shoots him because he's trying to kill people because he's been bitten by a spider or scarab beetle or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so he's this weird
The-
kind of zombie guy.
Yeah.
And that's so strange because it felt completely... I don't know whether this movie was trying to be an action comedy like the earlier Mummy movies.
I think it was.
But it
and-
didn't... I mean, like, some of it was trying to be funny, but it was like... It was very out of place. It was very jarring.
And the parts that were trying to be funny, the parts that weren't trying to be funny ended up being pretty funny.
Yeah, I mean,
In bits.
that's what happens when you make a bad film. But, like, then don't... I mean, like, I guess now they're stuck with the name Dark Universe.
Yeah.
It has to be, like...
It
you can't
better
make
be
it-
dark.
Yeah, light universe.
But there's no way you can have the Bride of Frankenstein and Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde and still have it be a truly dark, depressing kind of universe. You've got to kind of
Yeah,
like...
Frankenstein's story is pretty depressing. Frankenstein's monster, at least.
But you've seen him so many times that at this
As in
point
it'll be
it's got to be like
comical.
yeah.
Like, not intentionally funny.
I think they should go for the intentionally funny.
Oh, dude, yeah, that's where the bucks are, man.
Yeah.
And you got, like, good actors and stuff. Just do it. Do it, man. Like, for me, I would be shameless enough to be the executive at that universe table saying, we don't need integrity. We need butts and seats. Do something really easy, which is like action comedy. Again, these things are not easy.
You think it was easy, but look
Yeah.
at what happened with The Mummy.
Exactly.
It's an okay movie
It's-
at best.
at
But
best,
At
oh.
best. I
Yeah.
think we figured out the perfect way to describe it, which is it's like when you're at an amusement park and a roller coaster tries to do
yes.
like a story.
Yeah, yeah.
So like instead of just like,
This did
hey,
feel like this.
Well, here's a rise and here's a dip and here's
Exactly.
like a crazy
Eh,
360. It's like, okay, but this 360 is actually because there was this scientist and
Yeah.
he invented this anti-gravity well. And
Exactly.
you're like, cool, whatever. Just get
No,
me to the
and-
fun parts.
And to that end, I liken Tom Cruise's filmmaking process, especially when he is in control. And was he a producer on this film? He must have been.
He must be, yeah.
So I think what he does, and this is weird because sometimes he hits gold. In the Mission Impossible franchises, he does build the stunts first, like how Mahesh Bhatt first makes the songs and then makes the story
Yeah.
around it. Tom Cruise makes stunts, like what's the set piece is going to be
We're
like.
going to dangle off the Burj
Exactly.
Khalifa,
And
so we have to be in the way.
Exactly. So let's write it. And sometimes it's amazing because all the Mission Impossible films are really good. The weirdest thing is that for Rogue Nation, the last one which came out, it's an excellent film. I really enjoyed it. It was smart and really cool and, you know, really fast-paced and things like that. And I read them about the making of the film. They showed it, man. They were on the set without a script. And
Yeah.
they were like, I don't know why I have to jump into this well kind of thing, right? Like in the movie. And they hadn't written the way there, like from point A to point B, how they were going to get there. What's the exposition? They wrote the exposition on the spot, which is so interesting because that means that like either they're really good writers on set who are good at doing that, like which is like making up a story on the spot. So almost like improv. And like sometimes you hit gold, but sometimes it's just like if you go in with the script, but the script is bad, then your movie's going to suck. You know, it's
Yeah.
weird.
It is weird.
And I feel like this movie may have been something similar where they had a bunch of set pieces. If you could recall, I can recall the movie in these three major set pieces. One is, four. One is, actually three. One is the plane crash. One is the car chase from the plane crash.
Yeah.
And the fourth is at Prodigium, which is the company which is trying to recruit
that's
all
what
these...
it's called.
Yeah,
right, Prodigium.
It was stuck in my head for some reason, which is why I haven't forgotten it. Also, it's because Russell Crowe's like, Prodigium. And then I was just like, oh, sweet. Now I remember it. But yeah, so, and that last entire sequence, which is, so these are the three main acts. And I feel like everything in between may have just been half-assed. Like, I mean, not may have been, it was.
They faffed it.
Yeah, they did. Because all that stuff with Nick the Zombie, it was just like...
His
random
lines
and
look
weird.
like improv.
He may have just improved it, you know, completely. And so I can see the through line of how they were planning to make this movie kind of flow, okay? Like, you know, what the acts are like. But everything else is just poor, man.
But
And I
it
like this.
seems-
I like the set pieces, but I don't like
Yeah.
anything else.
Exactly, it's the roller coaster. You
Yeah.
like the peaks, but
Yeah, exactly.
you didn't like the story around it.
Yeah.
But it would be so stupid of them to do this because it's the first movie of what you are hoping is your big franchise.
Yeah, exactly. With a cast like, you know, Tom Cruise and Russell Crowe being in it, that seems like incredible that these two fine actors, maybe less of Tom Cruise, but more Russell Crowe, who's trying to make an entire career just being a dramatic actor rather than, you know, and he's great actually. He's actually a good comedian.
He's
and
very, like,
he's
one
very-
of my favorite roles of his is, I mean, a lot of them is him being funny, actually. when you
Yeah,
think
in the
about
Nice
it.
Guys and things like that.
Then, and
Yeah.
what is the one where he plays the Hollywood producer? Tropic Thunder.
Tropic Thunder.
He plays
oh, that's
like,
Tom Cruise.
yeah, where he's the fat guy.
Oh, I was talking about Russell Crowe.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Russell Crowe's funny in The Nice Guys.
Yeah, he's great in The Nice Guys. No, but my
that
point
makes
is...
a lot more sense.
Yeah, yeah. So Russell Crowe signing off on this film What? Did they just throw him a big wad of cash and said, "Hey, have you been part of a franchise?" And he was like, "No."
He's the Nick Fury of this universe.
He clearly is, but
In it.
let's talk about Russell's Crowe. Russell's Crowe.
Yeah.
That is so weird.
So Russell Crowe,
yeah.
aka the lead singer of 30 Odd Foot of Grunts, is
What?
that's his band.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. He
Nice.
has a rock band called 30 Odd Foot of Grunts.
Oh, nice.
Which is also how you could describe Russell Crowe.
Sure. All
He
right.
looks like the singer of 30 Odd Foot of Grunts. You're like, I can see it.
Yeah, I
now.
can see it. And he's done this one. Let's talk about his role.
He
Spoiler
plays
alert.
Henry Jekyll.
All right.
Who is the head of a mysterious organization called Prodigium,
Mm-hmm.
which deals with the world of monsters and gods.
So what is the rationale for why they're doing what they're doing at Prodigium?
There's monsters and there's gods.
Yeah.
And someone's got to deal with this shit, okay?
Yeah, okay. So it's Prodigium.
Enter Henry Jekyll.
So are they trying
What
to...
more do you need?
Are
Because
they-
that's all the explanation we're offered. Henry
Yeah.
Jekyll turns
Why
up.
does he want to contain them? Or is he a good guy in this film trying to contain them? He says he wants to kill Aminet, right? Like that's the whole point. Like he's captured her and he wants to kill. And the lead female in this, I can't remember her name. She wants to protect her because she's like, oh my god, you can't just kill her. And that's basically it.
And he wants to kill her. And then he's like, okay, wait, I know how we can do this. Let her consume Tom Cruise. And then we kill Tom Cruise. And all of this makes it seem like he's evil, but also he has the greater good in mind. So we don't know.
And
We
also
literally
he is
have-
Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, right?
He is, yes.
Yeah. So that's, what did you think
You
of that
can't
scene?
understand this because that's literally all the context the movie gives you also. They're like, his name is Jekyll and
What
they're
is it?
clearly relying on people
Henry
going
Jekyll.
like... Yeah, Henry Jekyll. They're
And-
clearly relying on people going like, oh, Jekyll, like that Jekyll and Hyde guy or what?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's all the context they give you.
I think
And
the people are just like, they gotta know who he
they
is.
gotta know. And at one point he morphs into Mr. Hyde.
Yeah, Eddie Hyde.
Eddie Hyde. Who's basically him with a Cockney accent. So you know he's evil.
Which was kind of strange.
And kind of racist against like South Londoners, I suppose.
Was it? Really?
Why
isn't
is the evil guy a Cockney accent?
but isn't the story of Henry Jekyll, I mean Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde set in London?
It is, yes.
So does that not make sense that he would have a Cockney accent?
And a London
But
accent?
are you saying it's racist because a posh guy can't be bad?
Maybe. That's kind
Got
of
it.
what happens. So in Jekyll and Hyde, basically this dude invents a thing and injects himself with it, and without him knowing, he transforms into Mr. Hyde at nights and goes out and murders people.
Right, correct. That's the story.
Yes.
The original
Here, he's some werewolf type dude who just suddenly morphs into Hyde and...
No, see, he's not a werewolf. I think he just becomes like manic and weird and he gets strength and he doesn't
yeah,
turn
I
into...
mean, like the transformation is kind of the same deal.
So in League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, the same deal, except in that Hyde is like a Hulk kind of character,
Yeah.
right? So in this one, they've kind of made him like just a
yeah,
dude
he's kind
with
of-
some,
yeah, you're right.
Yeah, so that's basically it. So
Well,
what did,
anyway, so
what did
he's
you
the-
think of Russell Crowe in
I
this
thought it was
film?
nonsense. Dude, I have no... He was probably, I mean, it's not his fault that he was the worst part of this movie. Because
What,
from
really?
the moment he was
No.
on screen...
No, he was not the worst. He was
Pretty
one
much-
of the most interesting parts because, like,
What? No.
not 1 second. This movie had absolutely nothing to offer, right? It had
Exactly.
nothing to offer. And you know what? I was excited about. I saw like Jake Johnson from New Girl. I was like, oh my god, New Girl! I have something to like care about. And I liked him because I just generally like that guy. And like, and then later on, I was like, oh my god, this movie is so drab. Like, give me something. And Russell Crowe's there. Sure, he's like the most happiest, like whatever character. But I was like, all right, sure, Russell Crowe, fine, I'll do it. I'll watch it. Like, it gave me reason to continue watching the film.
But that's because you like Russell Crowe.
Yeah, but that's why they cast these people.
I guess so. Fine,
Yeah.
fair enough.
You're not casting
but I
an
felt
unknown,
like
right?
pretty much every part of Russell Crowe's storyline had nothing to do with the mummy itself and more to do with setting up the dark universe.
Yeah, I mean, like, he seemed to be there in an elaborated role which would then serve as a like branching off point, right? The whole prodigium, etc. Now, when we conclude this film, there's a big giant action sequence again is completely, I mean, unnecessary, obviously goes without saying, but like just, okay, sure. And we end the film with the Tom Cruise stabbing himself so that he may bring his female opposing character to life, back to life, because she drowns.
Right.
Yeah. And so he does that, and as he does that, he's imbued with the powers of the god of death, and then he rides off into the sunset.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. I
And
remember what you're talking about.
in
now.
one line, he brings back Jake Johnson also to life.
He becomes the mummy.
The mummy?
Yeah. That's what happens, right?
He doesn't become the mummy.
Then who?
He's like the god of death. So basically, at the end of the film, he's not a mummy. He's got the powers to, like, he's basically the god of death. So he can bring people back to life. He can resurrect people. But he's not like all messed up in the face and stuff. He's kind of like becoming like a weird. We don't see.
Maybe he is, because you only see him in silhouette after that point.
So he's the mummy now?
He's the mummy now.
Who's the mummy now?
Wait, so he stabs himself with the enchanted dagger.
Yes.
And this leads to Amanette dying?
No, she doesn't die. He kills her.
How?
With his, like, powers and shit.
Oh, okay.
Because he's like the god of death now, and he realized that this item has killed his babe.
Yeah.
So he axes her off.
Oh,
That's what happens.
I think I checked out at this point in the movie.
we
I was
all
like,
did. Dude, we spent
action's happening.
We spent 25 minutes buying food in the interval.
Yeah, we missed like
And then
5 minutes and we didn't give a
for
damn.
us, it was like we knew Russell Crowe was playing like Dr. Jekyll, but literally we missed that entire sequence where there may have been like a dun dun dun. He's Dr. Jekyll, you know.
Where
We
he
missed
turns
that.
the camera and goes like, "I'm Dr. Jekyll."
And Mr. Hyde. Yeah, so we missed that. But that's so actually that is way more interesting because I was trying to see now in this dark universe. So he is the mummy then.
He's the mummy.
He is the mummy.
I guess so. Oh well. I
Okay,
think
nice.
the
That's
best
cool.
way for Universal to play this would be, because this movie is tanking, they should just go like, hey, we're all just kidding around here, let's have fun with it. Go Alien versus Predator with it.
Seriously?
But they just make like fun movies, because
But
that's the
I don't
feeling.
want them to, I really want them to go, I thought that this movie would be like, every universe is kind of occupied, like all these multiverses have, we've got the DC thing, which is this dark superhero thing.
Shit.
Marvel thing is like the action comedy.
Yeah.
But for this, I thought we would have a universe which is akin to the earlier mummies and like something like in the Indiana Jones space, right? Imagine a universe of films full of that style, which is like, a bunch of
action-adventure type
action
stuff.
adventure.
Yeah.
And they have failed to do that.
Yeah, but I feel like that's the vibe they're going for.
Like, you know
which
what?
is-
Like a Pirates of the Caribbean style, that humor.
Yes. Yeah.
In fact, that whole scene in the beginning of the Pirates of the Caribbean just reminded me of Indiana Jones. Like when
Yes.
he goes on top of the bank and the bank just moves.
I feel like,
it's not like Indiana Jones.
that's very similar to how they started in this movie. Like Tom Cruise is sort of like an Indiana Jonesy character, right?
But they didn't follow through with
They
any
didn't
of
follow
that.
through.
Yeah, what a shame.
Maybe they should just pick a lane. Either go like all out
need to,
goofy,
yeah. They
or
need to go with the goofy
like the
adventure.
most obvious approach, which they're completely avoiding for some reason, is to go horror.
Horror.
And there's no horror in this at all.
That's
but like
true.
you have Frankenstein and you have
There
Dracula.
I will
and
say that they did have a few scary moments. I was genuinely like shock value. Like, it was
I
good.
did gasp at one
Yeah,
point. I forget why.
There were many a gasp for
Yeah.
me.
I
enjoyed it.
remember right at the start when New Girl guy stabs the general. I was like, why?
Yeah, oh yes, exactly. That was
Yeah,
great.
out of
and
nowhere.
And what I also missed, I missed all these scarab beetles from this, the creepy crawly
Yeah.
element of the whole first. But I feel like this movie was so CGI'd. Like, I preferred the badly rendered CGI from the Arnold Vosloo, those, those films. And,
Because those Beatles were like...
yeah, those were scary.
That
and like,
image would stay in your head.
yeah, and also
They were
he had
icky.
great supporting cast. Oded Fur, he plays that guy, the horse rider who knows all
right.
he knows what's going on. That kind of character. We didn't have any of that great supporting cast. It was
Nothing very
literally just
memorable,
these-
huh?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, just like a couple of thrills and then like go home and you're good.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it sucks also because whenever you exit a cinema in this country, it's literally throwing you out into the trash.
Yeah.
So just like, it's like this movie is trash and you're trash. Get out of here. That's what it felt like. Okay.
Do you have any expectations of the Dark Universe?
I do, of course I do. I hope for their sake they will learn from them and say, okay, here's how they can salvage the Mummy's, fallout and things like that. They need to bring back Brendan Fraser.
Yeah.
Okay? They need to bring him back as a cameo.
But this is not even...
his base. Yeah, it's not.
Yeah.
But just bring him back so people will come back to watch it, Like, if somebody told me that for, some movie which I really didn't like or whatever, if you want me to watch it again, you gotta do something extra now. You gotta really win me back. And for this franchise, I feel like they need to have a hit. They need to have a Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
And they also need...
Or a Bride of Frankenstein.
Or a Bride of Frankenstein.
Yeah.
And they need to bring back something that will make me want to something nostalgic, especially since all these films are anyway throwbacks,
Yeah.
So that's, I think, what they need to do. What do you think they need to do?
I think they...
Horror?
No, I think the reason they didn't go horror is probably because they realized that in 2017 it's kind of hard to do a Dracula that's like that's played straight,
Yeah, I mean, not
they're
straight. They don't have
they're
to do it
such
that
pulpy
way.
characters
Yeah,
at this
they
point.
are.
As a Frankenstein, there's been so much pop culture around them that you can't do them straight faced anymore.
Yeah, you can't without making it an Edward Cullen.
Yeah.
Yeah. They just need to make him like Spike or something,
Yeah, maybe.
That would be cool. Like, what about a cool Dracula who's good? You know, like Blade, something like that.
Yeah, maybe. That
This
could
was. I think they are thinking the same thing right
should've
now.
made
They're
Blade.
just like, this is a bad idea. This
Plan
universe.
B.
Yeah.
Go full goofy. Like, just go like, all right. We know
We
what
just-
worked in The Mummy, which was like the funny parts.
The
and
original.
No, not the funny parts, the fun parts.
Yeah.
And like the little like
The
set
goofy
pieces.
escapades.
So let's just do like set pieces and go all out. And Universal has like the Jurassic universe. Have Tom Cruise fight a dinosaur, dude.
Oh shit, dude! Why aren't those two like crossing over?
Exactly.
What, that's a no-brainer.
Listen,
So that's
tell
what
me
they
you
have.
wouldn't watch Tom Cruise punch a dinosaur
In the mouth.
in the mouth.
Yeah, that would be great. I think that we've completely forgot that IP is there with them. Yeah,
They have a
Jurassic
ton of very successful
What
stuff.
else is there? What's good? What's good at Universal? Hit me. Give me the menu.
Okay, they've got the Jurassic.
All right, I'm sold. Yeah, that's good enough for me. I mean, Jurassic World was nothing to write home about, but I thoroughly enjoyed
But
it.
there's a Jurassic World 2, and Jurassic World was like.
Is it
one
not
of the
called
most-
Jurassic Universe? I'm going to be really disappointed. Oh, that sucks. Oh no,
I think it's called Jurassic,
Asia
World colon
Pacific.
2Rex.
Or Jurassic Asia Pacific.
Jurassic Asia Pacific.
Yeah, that's what it's going to be called. All right. So that is our episode on The Mummy.
Yes.
Final thoughts? Anything?
Go home, The Mummy.
Go home, The Mummy.
We don't want you here.
But actually, now that you tell me that Tom Cruise is The Mummy, I'm pretty interested. I'm back in.
That's just a theory.
I just thought that he's just like this other dude now who doesn't have a name. Can you imagine? First of all, they picked all these obscure characters. Not obscure, but these characters from like 100 years ago.
They made up characters, no?
Yeah.
Is Aminet a real dude?
Oh no, totally unreal.
Okay.
Like this movie, yeah.
Undead.
So, undead, unreal, everything. And I'm just like, okay, cool. Either, get Tom Cruise to be the Mummy. And what do you think this is gonna like? Do they have a phase plan? Like, what is
I don't think
the
they-
Avengers Infinity War?
I
of
don't
these
think they have
movies?
any plan at all.
Yeah.
It really doesn't seem like it. Because this is literally their second attempt at starting the same universe.
But
And-
isn't DC Comics doing the same? Wasn't it the same for them? They had Man of Steel, and then they had BVS, and then they had Suicide Squad.
But they
I think.
retconned Dracula Untold into it, right? I don't think Universal's even doing that.
Oh, so that's not the Dracula.
They're pretending Dracula Untold didn't exist,
Okay, I
and
see.
they're starting
Alright.
with the Mummy. The
Green
same with
Lantern.
Green Lantern. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a Green Lantern situation.
It's a Green Lantern situation. Yeah, all right. So, Mr. President, we have a Green Lantern situation.
Here's what I will say. I'm looking forward to Mission Impossible. What's it now? 6.
Yeah, it's gonna be great.
I mean, the last one was Rogue Nation.
Yeah, it
which
was-
is the one where they come to India and they meet
No,
British
that's
Knots.
4.
That's 4.
Yeah.
Oh my God, what's 5 then?
5 is Rogue Nation, where basically
Oh,
the ending
where-
of 4 is like that. It was basically
IMF is disbanded.
No, that's in 4 also.
What? Okay,
Yeah,
what's
yeah.
5 then?
Oh, I think no. IMF is disbanded in this also.
And IMF is disbanded every single
No,
time.
except I mean the first 3 that they're on. But the cool thing is
Have you
that-
noticed like the most serious the Mission Impossible franchise gets?
Yeah.
Like now it's this like cool action thing. They never say impossible missions first.
Foundation- yeah,
Because they know
impossible-
how
yeah.
ridiculous that sounds. They're
Yeah,
like
the
IMF.
IMF, just trying to be cool.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be good because I mean, like they've got a really good cast with Simon Pegg and all these guys. And
Yeah.
it was really that last
Is,
movie was really good.
Jeremy
In
Renner's
fact-
in it also still.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
And the cool thing is that I think they basically made with Rogue Nation like what Quantum of Solace should have been was Rogue Nation. Yeah, so it was like a better version of the idea that everything, like what Spectre ultimately became, right? Which is this one organization that's controlling everything. So Rogue Nation was that, and they had a great villain also in it. It was really good.
Who was the villain?
I can't remember this actor's name. He's like this British actor. He was very much like a Bond villain. So yeah, it was
Okay.
quite cool. Yeah. Must watch, by
Yes,
the way.
yeah.
Yeah. Instead of Jack Reacher, that you can skip.
Jack Reacher was capable. Though again,
seen both of
great
them.
villain. Herzog.
Yeah,
Werner
Herzog, yeah, in the first one. And the second
Yeah.
one, it's, I don't know.
Oh right,
someone-
there was a second one.
Yeah,
I forgot about that. I didn't watch it.
With Robin Schabatsky.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
Oh,
She's
yeah?
a military army officer or something. I don't know. Anyway, but yeah, that's our episode. Thank you for listening about The Mummy and Tom Cruise. Thanks, Dinkar. If you guys have any thoughts, where should they write into?
They can write into us at contactgeekfruit@gmail.com or head over to geekfruit.in and click the contact button. You can talk to us on social media, on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, and our handles are at geekfruithq across all of these.
Yeah.
So tell us what you think of Tom Cruise.
If you even saw this movie.
Tell us what you think of The Mummy. Tell us if you didn't. I'd like to know why. Do you not care?
It's possible. It's possible
quite
that people
possible.
don't care. I mean, I was very close to not caring until I was just like, nah, there's no way I'm missing a Tom Cruise film.
Okay, how about write into us if you saw The Mummy and write into us if you didn't at
So,
Geekfruit HQ.
whatever you did.
Whatever you did.
write into us.
Talk to us.
Cool. See you later, nerds.
एक्सक्यूज मी भैया, एक्सक्यूज मी,
बोलिए मैडम।
मेन्यू में क्या है?
मेन्यू में सीन अनसीन है, पॉडकास्ट है, ऑन कोर्स है, साइरस है, मेड इन इंडिया, रीडिस्कवरी प्रोजेक्ट, एम्पावरिंग सीरीज, सेक्स वैक्स है, IVM लाइक्स है, सिंप्लीफाइड है, कीपिंग इट क्वियर है, टिंग्स एंड डेस्टिनेशंस है, माय नेबर सकरबर्ग है और द फैन गराज है। आपको क्या चाहिए?
एक बार रिपीट कर देंगे क्या?
रिपीट नहीं करता हम। आप जाओ ivmpodcast.com पे और सुनो ये सब, या फिर डाउनलोड करो उनका ऐप, सब आपकी उंगलियों पे।